Now, after everyone had seen The Avengers, Prometheus, The Dark Knight Rises, all the kind of sort of big Hollywood films that came out in the summer, the next sort of big Hollywood film that everyone's kind of looking forward to is Looper. And I've got to say, this film does build up to the hype, but I'm not really a huge fan of it, as I will explain later. The film is set in the year 2042, and there's a group of gang called Loopers, where in the future time travel is invented, and if they want to get rid of someone, they send them back in time, and these Loopers, kill them, so they earn a bit of money on the side for doing it. And it's pretty cool in how they do it, because they don't really explain time travel, so that kind of works well. And that kind of feels that it would be right. Like, gang lords would use time travel to get rid of someone that they don't want to see anymore. But all of a sudden, loopers have been exterminating their old selves, and then Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character confronts his future self, and somehow the future self manages to escape. The current the current one is now trying to find him to kill him to make amends, while the other one is trying to sort of change, his possible future. And I quite like how it's kind of how they sort of do that. I'm going to sort of get this off from the bat. All the actors in this film play their roles brilliant. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is awfully, really different in this film. I know they said that he tried to sort of make him look like a younger Bruce Willis, but when I saw the trailer, I was like, is this really Joseph Gordon-Levitt? Is this really him? Because it's really hard to tell. Like, there's some scenes where it just doesn't look like him. This looks like a completely different guy, and I think the makeup department have done really well in portraying this. Bruce Willis is actually really good in this film, and it's the Bruce Willis we like from, like, maybe Die Hard and sort of other films that he's done through, like, action based. This is a great sort of turn to form for Bruce Willis, and he does a better job in this than he did in, say, The Expendables 2. Emily Blunt in this film, she's pretty good. Like, she doesn't really get more introduced until, like, the second half of the film, but in all, she's really good. And what was really surprising is there's a child actor in this film who is really good. Like, because most child actors aren't really that good, because they're a child, and actually not really the kind of the biggest strong point just now. But this kid was really, really good, and I think he's going to be really good in the future, so I'd probably look out for him. But what I really love, though, is how they explain the whole what a looper is, and time travel and whatnot. Well, they don't really sort of explain time travel, but they explain why time travel got invented and why it doesn't get used quite a lot. There's also they also sort of introduced, we didn't really show in the trailer, is like 10% of the population are TK, telekinesis, and I love the fact and how they sort of portrayed it. Like most guys, they tend to use it as a pickup tool. They float a coin, in their hand, and just to pick up chicks. And I like how they say that's completely tacky in the film, because to be honest, it really is. If you've really got good take, you do something really big, and impressive. And one thing I'd probably say is they talk about this kind of like the start and whatnot, and then they completely, they don't really talk about it for the next hour or so. So it completely just goes like, it gets ignored. The one thing I also like is the way of the future may look like. Like, you see, there's a lot of like homeless gang like people there, and you see how the rich and powerful or like gangs are kind of like patrolling the city and whatnot. Pretty cool. And the one thing I really like is this film kind of flew me off by a loop. Like, I was watching it, and then somehow I just lost concentration, and for a moment I was like, wait a minute, I've seen this, why is they doing this scene again? and wait a minute, something's completely different, and then you realise that holy shit, this is different because this is completely. I'm not going to sort of spoil it, but it really did flew me off a loop. Really good acting scenes, sort of really good sort of memorable scenes, but the problem is I don't really crave more for that. Like, I'm not craving to go back to the cinema to watch it again. Well, the thing is, one of the testimonials, and I think one of the posts is saying this is like this year's Matrix. It's not really. In fact, if you actually ask me, this film kind of felt a bit like Terminator, to be honest, and it has that Terminator-esque about it. It's just written differently, but it has that, finesse about it. And the one thing I would say is, I thought the ending was really good, but I didn't crave for more. I don't really crave for if they ever make a sequel for this, because it ended well, but I don't really want them to make, this into a franchise because they'll completely ruin it. But I think it's just going to be one of those sort of cult films where there's certain people are going to, defend this film to the hilt. I just not really that huge of a fan, and I'm quite gutted really, because I was really looking forward to it and I thought I was going to completely, utterly love it. So what is my rating? This is going to get a really good 8.5 out of 10. I do love this film. I do really like it. I think it's a really good sci-fi film that we've not had for around this sort of time period for quite a while. But I'm just not craving more. I'm just not craving for it anymore. Like, I'm not going to go and see it again, out of my own free will. And I think when it comes out on Blu-ray, I think I'm actually going to wait a while, which I don't really like. Normally I like to buy it, as soon as, so I can, re-watch it. But I think I'm going to wait a while until it gets a bit cheaper.